Welcome to day one of the Zentangle Inktober 2025. And if you're wondering how we got to this, please take a look at my previous video on the preparation for Inktober 25. And we cover all the details there and the size of paper and everything that we're using. But today, in day one, we're going to jump right into the first tangle, which is called Festune. And I will have the proper spelling and attributions of that for you in the description box for this video. But today we're going to get started right onto that tangle, and I'm going to do mine about in this position here on my layout. You can do yours wherever you'd like, but I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and we'll get started. Now, I want to also make note that Festune as a tangle itself is actually very, very simple, and there's nothing wrong with it per se, but it's not very interesting. So we're going to spice it up a little bit and make it a little more three-dimensional. You can either think of it as a UFO, or you can think of it as a stack of cookies or anything else. But I'm not trying to emulate those things, but it is going to look a little different but be drawn in much the same way as the original tangle. So I'm going to start right about here, and we're going to draw an oval shape that slightly bulges on the top a little bit more than on that bottom. And then I'm going to draw a little orb. Normally this would look like it's in the center, but I'm going to curve it like that so that it is in the center, but it would look like it's down and recessed in almost like a lifesaver or something. But in this case, we're trying to make that shape a little bit different. So we're inking that in just like in the original. And then we're going to draw some lines. I'm going to put a little bit of a curved arc to them, and I'm going to do double like an orid line just to give it a little thickness. And we're going to draw a few of these shapes here that emanate from that center piece outward toward the edge. And we might have a couple peeking their way into the back there. You'll have to kind of gauge on how you drew your shapes. And now what we're going to do is create an orb at the end of where each of these are. So we're following the basic general pattern that was used in the original, but we're not following it precisely. And we're creating just this slightly different look. And you'll see now once we shade it how that three-dimensional fact just starts popping out. So now let's draw at least one or two more of these to have a little bundle of them. So I'm going to draw that same shape, just slightly underneath that other one. We'll still draw our orb here with the upward facing curve to help convey that sense of being in the center, but it's higher than the edges, if that makes sense. And we'll draw our curves downward. Our little orb there. So Festune is drawn with these same elements in the original. It's just that it's a little more of a flat looking piece and with a little less detail and dimension. So I just thought it would be fun. This is the Tangles and Toons channel after all, so I can't do anything normally, right? We have to have a little bit of fun with it. Alright, so we've got a couple of those. And I'm not drawing the orbs in the back because my assumption is with the shape or dimension of this, I can't see that little orb on the other side. So it's just not visible for us. And now I'm going to draw a larger one that sort of covers this area right here. So it goes there. That means I have to place my other piece right up in here. I'm inking this in, and like I said, we'll shade it and add a couple highlights, and I think it will make these look really neat. At least that's the hope. And I honestly am not trying to draw a UFO, but I know it sort of looks like that. And you can imagine whatever that is. But Festune isn't a particular shape anyway, so I thought this kind of looked like a little batch of cookies or something maybe sitting here. And the original is inked, the lines are inked solid, and so are the center and the dots. I'm leaving those little dots or orbs at the end open just for some variety. All right, so we've got those basic shapes in place. So here's how we're going to do our shading, or at least how I'm going to do mine. I'm going to add graphite around this top shape, just at the base of it, and then around the outer edge of the other shape. Now this one, since they're in front or behind each other, I'm going to also add a little bit of shadow here to indicate that overlap. It just will help with the dimensionality again, as we always talk about. Or at least it helps to convey a sense of layering, which is about dimension too. So however you want to think of that term, whenever you see a Zentangle shape or a pattern, or even in other kinds of art, that is in front of or behind or overlaps another, then that's where you can add some shadow, and it just conveys that a little more easily. Now I'm also going to add a little hint of graphite along the right side of each of these lines. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to see if we can convey a sense that those are raised up off the top too. They're not just a flat, like a piece of paint or something on these shapes, but they're actually, you know, a little metal band, or maybe there's some icing or frosting that was put onto these cookies or whatever it might be. It just gives another way to convey shape and form. All right, so we've laid some graphite down, so let's grab our tortillon and we'll blend this a bit. So these, I don't need a huge shadow on this line, I just want some kind of shadow. Around the edges, I'm going to put a little bit more pronounced shadow, just because I think that will be necessary to convey that shape. And in the background, maybe just lightly shade that as well. Just have fun with it, play around with it, see how you can convince your eye of what you're seeing. If you're seeing shape and form, or if you're just seeing a bunch of shaded lines that don't make any sense, then and that's okay. You don't judge yourself over it, but just play with that. See if you can make that graphite do your bidding and make it create a shape for you here, or dimensionality. Now, one last step that we could do to help enhance that a little further, if you have a white chalk pencil or a white gel pen, I'm going to use a Jelly Roll 10 here, we can add little bits of highlight that will help accentuate this. So I'm going to add a little highlight to the left side. The reason it's the left is because my shadow is on the right, so the light's hitting it in that direction. It just will help, again, convincing the eye of this reality. So we get a little highlight there, and then I'm going to try, if my pen is thin enough for me, I'm going to try to add the tiniest little highlight along the left side of these little lines, so that that cast shadow makes a little more sense when we look at it, because we're seeing that highlight on the opposite side. It's very hard to do. This is a little bit of a, I should have had a smaller tip on my gel pen here, but we're trying. We'll see the best we can do without making it too big. Just like that. And we may add later, as we have more tangles surrounding each other, we may add shading in between them and so on. But for today, I think that conveys pretty well a nice little shape. It's our own version of Festune, but it still retains enough similarity to be identified as that tangle, at least in my opinion. So Gail, did you get yours done as well?
Yep, here's my version.
All right, let's see here. Lay that in there. Nice. Nicely done.
That was fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It wasn't too corny of a version, eh?
No, not at all.
Good. Good. Well, it's always my pleasure to have you tangle with me, as is our tradition here for Inktober and
Yep.
many other days. Let me zoom out here and I'll show everybody. So far, side by side, we've got our preparation and our day one tangle. Well, I hope everyone else had fun drawing as well, and I look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow for day 2 of the Zentangle Inktober. Until then, take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.